Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and in this video we're going to be seeing my hands. The reason that we're actually here are the goodies within this box here, which has Samsung on it, and it was a Samsung box, but the phone that came within this box is not here today. We're going to be discussing about that phone maybe sometimes in the future. If you actually like old tech as much as I do, that's why you probably clicked on this video. So this is actually just a part of my collection that I wanted to share with you. I think that a lot of the phones within this box are OGs and they're gonna take you back down the memory lane, and I hope that you have fun watching this video. Also, just quickly before we move on to the video, I want to remind you to like this video, to subscribe to my channel, and to take a look at some of my earlier uploads on the channel, as I would really appreciate that. Thank you, and let's get into the video. So within the box we have 5 phones for you today, and they are very old. Some of them are almost as old as I am, and that can tell you quite a bit about these devices. Whilst I was doing the research for this video, it was a little bit difficult for me to find the exact models of these phones, but this one actually has the number on itself, so I could have just searched this, but I honestly didn't see it. Nevertheless, I actually want to start with a different one, and that is, let's just close this box and put it aside. This is the one that I want to begin with because this one has had quite an impact on me as a kid. Also, look at that beautiful holographic colorful logo that we have right there. This phone was the main phone that I had as a kid. I was maybe seven years old when I got it, and I got it from my mother. They didn't purposefully just like give me a phone. That was like a luxury, guys, back then. You know, I got to use the phone after she had used it and she moved on to something else, so I got one so that she can contact me whilst I'm in school. Nevertheless, this is the Samsung SPH A650, and there are a lot of variants actually of this phone. You have versions with this bigger circle and the trademark on the front. Some actually came even with a mini screen here instead of this logo, and you had your date and time and whatnot presented here, which was really cool. But this one is an older model, and this one does not have that, but it does have this cute LED indicator here, which was very colorful, and you had different colors that you could assign to different notifications. So when you had a call, when you had a message, that's what you had displayed here. It has this antenna, I believe, for just regular connection, but it also supported wireless connection, so you did have mobile internet on, but we didn't actually use that at the time here. So some facts about this phone: it has a 16-bit LCD display. This here, what you see, is actually something that a lot of flip phones suffer from, and that is that the keyboard leaves or scratches the screen, really, so it leaves these marks on the display. This one is a pretty bruised up used phone. I actually cleaned it up a little bit for this video, but as I was cleaning it, the paint was starting to come off as well, so I kind of stopped and gave it just a smooth, soft white. The resolution of the small, I don't know how big this display is. It doesn't say anywhere on the internet, but it's a very small screen. As you can see, it's the size of my thumb, and it is a 160 by 128 pixels resolution, and it has a removable 1000 milliamp hour battery. This is the original one actually that came with the phone, and then here you had your SIM card. This was, I think, one of like the largest version of the SIM card. The phone is actually pretty light without the battery. With the battery, it weighs around 100 grams. And from the side, we see these volume up and down buttons, but here it had a 3.5 or 2.5 actually millimeter headphone jack, but for some reason it came up filled with dirt and with something inside. We couldn't use it. I think that this is the headphone jack. Nothing else can be the headphone jack. This cannot be removed, so this is the headphone jack, I suppose. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe this is like some antenna or something, but it has an antenna here, so it's like, I don't get it. Nevertheless, it came like this because actually my mom purchased it from my cousin, so she received the phone in this condition. Of course, back then you didn't have expandable storage, but what the phone prides itself for is that it had a capacity of 500 phone book contacts with picture IDs. I guess that was cool at the time. It also supported GPS, and it came with a bunch of old school classic video games or just games on the phone that I loved to play as a kid. There was a golf game that I enjoyed so much. An interesting thing about the phone, whenever you actually flipped it up or down, the sound was very interesting. You could assign different sounds as well. It was like such a bossy moment to shut it down or to snap with the phone. It was so cool. And do you want to know what the most interesting thing about this phone is? It actually works. Let me just grab the charger and I'm going to show you that the phone works. So this here is the original charger for the phone. The chargers back then were pretty wide and big, just like standard for phones at the time. There it is, and it says charging. Oh my god, look at the animations, guys. It works. It has this beautiful blue backlight on the keyboard. The notification thingy is this magenta, I think, color. I'm not sure. I love this phone. And can you imagine that? This one was released maybe early 2000s and it still works. The battery still holds. And let us try to turn it on fully and go further than this charging screen if that's possible. Oh my god, it's ringing. Oh, we cannot go further because it requires a SIM card. But the sad thing is that I don't have a SIM card of this size. Imagine how crazy it would be if I could actually start using this phone as my main phone. I would essentially time shift back in the past. I'm honestly truly surprised. And imagine just the strength of this hinge and the quality of the hinge, which has lasted so long. Okay, so what do we have in the box? Let me actually go with this. Let's jump now into the 2000s. Well, actually not into the 2000s, into 2010s. This phone was released, I believe, in 2014. This is the LG G3, and this was easily one of my favorite phones that I ever owned, and I really wanted this phone for such a long time. And then once I got it, I was so impressed by it. I was so happy that I got it. As you can see, it has some tape here because the headphone jack just started to malfunction, but someone said to put some tape and then try to put your headphones in and then it will work, and it actually did. So phone is so beautiful, and this color, golden rosy color, was really nice. The build quality was not pristine because you could hear some cracks here and there if you would do this or press on the case, because this is plastic at the end of the day. But of course, one of the main features was that this was a removable back, which gave you access to this 3000 milliamp hour battery, which was pretty good for at the time. You also had your micro SD card and your micro SIM card here as well. The speaker, it had a 13 megapixel 2.4 aperture camera, 29 millimeters. It had this revolutionary technology at the time, this laser focus, this laser autofocus. This whole camera build produced some of the best images that I know. I even now on my Instagram profile have a picture or two that I'd taken with this phone such a long time ago. This phone was really good when it came to the camera. So these three buttons on the back, that's how you use the phone. Besides volume up and down, you also woke up the phone here on this button. I feel like they really, with the LG G2 and then with the LG G3, they revolutionized the market and everyone was kind of following what LG, but they were a trendsetter, you have to admit, actually more than 5 years ago. It's really sad to see LG go out of business. It had a 5.5 inch display. It had 538 pixels per inch. So it was such a sharp display. It has so many fingerprints. I feel dirty. Okay, that looks a little bit better. It is a 16:9 ratio display, which I kind of liked because it gives you that width. I don't know, it just kind of makes it easier to hold in your phone, even though it's quite a sizable phone. It is 150 grams grams in weight, so 5.26 ounces. Had 16 gigabytes of internal storage. That's the model that I had. It also, there was a 32 gigabyte storage. Actually, I think this one was 32 gigabytes of storage, and then 3 gigabytes of RAM. It was able to record 4K 30 frames per second video, which was really revolutionary back then. It was like, wow, like, oh my god, I have this flagship phone in my hand. So this was LG's flagship at the time. And I remember that the G2, which my friend in high school had some technical issues, and it wasn't as good as this one. And in price, they were not that, like, there was not a huge difference. I remember that I just really wanted to wait on this one to get my money and then to get my hands on it, because it was such a good phone back then. The front camera actually wasn't its strong side. I remember that the photos came out a little bit grainy and too soft, so I know the front camera was not really the best. The speaker here that we have wasn't also the best. It was a little bit too quiet. It also featured a micro USB, so no USB-C at the time. So the battery was the main thing that, or the first thing that started to go wrong with this phone. This phone doesn't work, by the way. The screen or the display doesn't work. And once that happened, I went to a repair shop and I asked them what do they think it is, and they told me that it's probably an issue with the motherboard. So they told me I could not fix it, or that it would be too pricey for me to fix the phone, so they just advised me to get a new one. I don't know if that's the best advice. Maybe I could have fixed this phone back then. Maybe I will fix it in the near future just for fun. But I remember that with the screen off but the phone on, I was able to, because I knew where everything was on this phone, I was able to connect the phone to Chromecast it to my TV, and that's how I used it for some time, just to get all of my files onto my new phone. So I changed the battery, but the replacement battery that I bought was not the real LG battery. It was a knockoff which would literally inflate, and it was very unsafe, and so I had to buy another one, and that's the new one. But I also think that this is not an original LG phone. But here we actually have 3 more phones, and I don't know. Okay, let's go just like briefly over the Siemens C75. This one I actually received as a gift from my cousin. It was a used phone as well. This phone came out in the early 2000s, so in 2005. Weighs around 85 grams. It has 10 megabytes of storage. There's no SD expansion slot for this phone. Oh my god, the Samsung phone had some alarm going on and it scared the shit out of me. So the standout feature of this phone was this joystick here. The phone was, I mean, pretty meh at the time. I remember, because like the keyboard, it's really strong. It's hard to type on it. And of course, this is the keyboard where you have to type or press a couple of times to get to the certain letter that you want to get to. And also, this is how you lock the phone. So like you just press this hashtag here. The camera stopped recording. What sabotage? I hope it recorded the majority of what I was saying. But essentially, this phone was nothing special really. But I did like that it had infrared, so I could transfer all of those animated photos, like GIFs, from my neighbor who had a lot of them on his phone as well. So, you know, you had to put your phones next to each other and like not touch them, not look at them, not breathe at them, just leave them alone so that the files could transfer. I cannot remove the back plate for some reason. As you can see, it's swollen up a little bit, probably because the battery swole. The camera was pretty bad. It was miserable. You couldn't even decipher what you were pointing at, let alone what was on the photos. I bet it still has some photos saved on the actual phone, but I mean, I cannot get the phone to work because the battery is broken. There were games as well on this phone. I think there was also golf or something as well on this Siemens phone, and I remember that I played games very heavily on it. I primarily used it just to take calls and write a couple of texts, and that was it. Yeah, that was that phone. Oh my god, it can stand like this as well. So for now, we have covered these 3 phones. These 2 are like very early 2000s. This is a 2014 phone. So that's how these videos are gonna run. This phone is still on, so after even half an hour of me filming, it's still working. So some of these phones have a standby time of 300 100 hours. Not this one, of course, but these. And talk times of about 5.5 hours as well. Pretty cool phones. I'm pretty happy to have kept them, and especially in a relatively good condition. And this phone, I might check to fix it. Yes, so thank you for watching. Thank you for clicking on this video. And if you liked it, please make sure to subscribe, to leave a thumbs up, and maybe even share. You hear? So this phone has some kind of a notification when the battery is low so that you can charge it, but it's pretty quiet because the speaker is probably just either dirty or broken. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I see you in the next one. Bye.